first thing that I want to share with y'all about is one of the biggest mistakes that I found in myself and now others is the reason why you aren't selling as much is because you're trying to get them to buy. You aren't selling as much because you're trying to get them to buy. So what does that mean? Big shout out to all the business owners, entrepreneurs. I actually just want to talk to y'all how you can start making more money in sales and feel better while doing it. Well, it's a lot of misnomers about how to get better at sales, how to sell more, how to have more, how to make more money. But the way in which I'm gonna explain to you in this pod today on how you can go out and make more money and feel better while doing it ain't talked about enough, particularly because it ain't practiced enough. I can just tell you my evolution of the last, I would say 4 or 5 years that I figured this out, of how to sell and feel better while doing it. Now, one of the main things, or the first thing that I want to share with y'all about is one of the biggest mistakes that I found in myself and now others is the reason why you aren't selling as much is because you're trying to get them to buy. You aren't selling as much because you're trying to get them to buy. So what does that mean? So I had a call earlier today with a soon-to-be client. And whenever I have a sales call, there's some very intentional things that I do going into it. So the first thing is I pray. Why? Because if I believe that all increase comes from the Lord, if I believe that every good and perfect gift comes from Him, if I believe that all hard work brings a profit, but mere talk leads to poverty, if I believe that if I seek ye first His kingdom and His righteousness, then all these things will be added. If I believe that, then I know that even when I'm selling, that the prospect and the increase comes from Him. And so I'm always conscious to stop and pray before the call. Why? Because of everything I just said. I have to make sure that I'm clear that I know it comes from Him. So that what that does is when I get on that sales call, then I'm detached from the outcome at that point. Why? Because I don't need anything from this person. Now, I'm prepared to offer them, to articulate my offer, to show them the pathway by which I get them to pay off. Like, I'm good with doing all of that. But I'm also consciously aware that it's very well possible that I could sit across from this individual and don't do any of it. Like, I can't tell y'all how many times by taking this approach that I've been on sales call and I could just see the brokenness in the person. And so I start asking questions because the best answers are great questions. And as I'm going through this process with them, I identify their brokenness to a point where we start peeling back the layers of the onion. I don't even feel that this person is fit for duty to even make the sizable investment of whatever my offer is and be in the right headspace and or capacity to move forward. So in that moment, then I say, well, dang, I guess God sent him here for me to just minister to him, disciple to him, fellowship with him, right? Speak words of encouragement, maybe even pray with him, which has happened more times than I can count. And so I know a lot of you as business owners, entrepreneurs, you get a certain level of angst when it comes down to selling. I'm trying to help you remove that angst, remove that discomfort from it. Because when you understand that the things that you pray for, God uses people to get them to you, then before you get on that sales call and start making foregone conclusions about who you got to close, you just need to be talking to Him about asking you to maintain a pure heart, that you serve the person for the intended purpose that He sent them. And so when I'm getting on the call, I'm actually looking less for opportunities to sell them something and more opportunities to add value to them. So does that make sense so far? I know we going deep and it's heavy and all the rest of it, but I promise you, if you do it with the way I'm telling you, you're going to make more money selling and you're going to feel better about it in doing it. See, the way that God set the world up, there's a duality to everything. So there's no one side to nothing. There's heaven and earth. There's life and death. There's beginning and end. A piece of bread is not just one-sided. There's another side to it. So if you understand that, you understand this. Then in a sales environment, if I'm leaned in trying to get you to buy something, then you're going to lean out. In every situation, somebody is leaned in and leaned out. And for those of y'all that's been married or been in a relationship, you already know, like, typically it's never equal in that regard. One person loves harder, or in certain seasons, one person loves harder, etc. Or the grade school crush that, you chasing them and they running. You don't chase them and they chase you. You chase them and they run from you. And so no different in sales. When you get on there and they can smell commission on your breath, because you could tell when somebody's thirsty and you could tell when they're intentional about making a sale. And so that creates buyer resistance. They don't know why, but internally they don't feel right. But it's because you're leaned in so far that they have to naturally lean out. Does that make sense? So that's the first thing. Stop trying to get them to buy. Really get on the call to understand and why are they there? And maybe at the end of it, it is for you to offer them something, to sell them something that could help change their life. But maybe they're not even a good fit. Maybe they got the money, but they a horrible fit that would destroy your culture if you let them into your ecosystem, whatever your product or service is. That they a nightmare and a problem waiting to happen somewhere. And you got to be able to be detached from the outcome so that you could discern that and see it before it happens. Okay. And then have also the discipline of knowing that if it's not this one, because this not the right one, then he's going to send another one. But that requires faith. That requires trust. That requires discomfort. That requires being open-handed. That requires letting go of control, which are typically all the things that we struggle with as business owners and as entrepreneurs. So number one, stop trying to get them to buy. Number two, only sell them things that they desire. So another bad place that we fall into is salespeople, which is probably why we get a bad rap sometimes, which I'll bother that another day. It's a conversation for another day. Hey, real quick, if you are a coach, consultant, business owner, aspiring business owner, you want to start making more money online. Maybe you stuck at that 5, 10, 20K a month ceiling. Maybe some of you are still in ideation mode. You're just like, I got to get out of this job. I know I got something in me I need to give birth to, but you can't quite figure out how to either scale it or start it. Make sure you come to our Purpose to Profits Challenge. My partner David and I are going to be showing you how to successfully grow your business online, helping you with content creation, helping you with marketing strategies, helping you with sales, fulfillment, the whole nine. Showing you our exact systems on how we went from not making 6 figures a year, not multiple 6 figures a year, but 6 figures a month and even sometimes 6 figures in a day. If that sounds like you, make sure you click the link in the description, sign up for the challenge. General admission is only $17. All right, $47 for the VIP. If you want to spend 1 hour exclusively with David and I each day and ask all of your questions specifically, make sure you get the VIP ticket. We will see you there, and get back to the episode. But ultimately, when I sit down with a prospect, with a potential client, I only want to sell them the thing that's going to solve their problem. If I've been on a call before for our real estate mastermind, right, which at the time I think was like a $27,000 off, and I sat across from somebody who was more than equipped to stroke the check, but at that time we were teaching fix and flip, wholesale, and cash flow, right? I always believed in teaching all three methods because I believe at some point in your career you're going to need to know all three of those different methodologies. And so this particular person wanted to develop like communities, right? They wanted to go out and build new communities, acquire the land, go through the whole pre-development, development process, the whole nine. And while I have a lot of work and knowledge on it, it's not something that I do. And it certainly ain't something that I do at a level to teach it, right? Because I believe that you need to be excellent at whatever it is that you exposit to others. I just told them, I was like, listen, I know people that probably can help you in this area, but that's not my core competency though. And I'm not about to sell you something to have you coming in with one idea and that not be the case. And by the way, not only was I protecting the client, I was protecting myself, because either one or two things gonna happen when you sell somebody something that they don't desire. Either then you have to go and become the thing that they do desire to keep integrity and the fulfillment because you collected a check from this person, or you end up doing what majority of the people do out there and you sold them something that they thought they bought something different. And so you're really protecting them and you when you can get crystal clear on what it is that they desire. Understand, is that something that you offer? And if you don't offer what they desire, then don't sell them nothing. Now, as it turns out, interestingly enough, when I took that approach, they were like, well, that's kind of bigger vision. I still do think there's some value in me coming in and learning how to flip a house or two to just learn more of the nuance of going through the rehab process, all the rest of it, before I pivot into something that much bigger. Well, I'm happy to help you now, right? Like, you speaking my language, like we're on the same sheet of music. And so in that particular case, I still led with the right thing, which was, I don't do this. There's somebody else better than me to do this for you and with you, regardless of what the check was and regardless of their ability to write it. Which, by the way, if this conversation is helping you, please let me know in the comments. People from the audio have been reaching out, sending me messages, the YouTube world. Please let me know in the comments if this conversation is helping you, okay? Also, number 3, don't try to convince them as to why they should buy with you. Back to that having commission on the breath. I see far too many times. Okay, let me ask y'all this, because y'all are business owners. Have you ever had a client or a prospect tell you, yeah, I was with so-and-so and, I was checking out their thing and, I was really close to buying their thing and I was like, let me check over here with you and see, like, have y'all ever had that happen? So this is my favorite answer whenever that happens. Okay, it's my favorite answer. So why didn't you buy with them? Well, I just wanted to still check you out. And so what would make you different than them? considering I don't know them, I would say everything. And I also would say that if you think that their offer or their product or service is more attractive for you, I would say just buy theirs. Do y'all feel how lit? And I know some of y'all was just like, wait a minute, did you just get a sale away? No, there is no sale. See, when people are waffling back and forth like that and they acting like they still comparing you to somebody else, the truth is they just haven't made a buying decision yet. So I'm helping them get closer to figuring out what they want to do. And it's similar to how when you walk into the job interview and you put down your current employer for the sake of your future employer got to think, if you willing to put them down, you willing to put me down. Same is true for a prospect. If they come into you and they like, I was thinking about them and I'm thinking about you, and then for me to all of a sudden try to tear down what somebody else has to prop me up and I don't even know what they got, that's nonsense. I never let anybody, by virtue of that, if they ever trying to figure out between me and somebody else, to tell them choose the other person. And then you'll hear what's really on their mind. Now it's like, well, the reason why I didn't go with them was because they don't offer XYZ. I'm like, oh, well, that's different because we do offer XYZ. So for me, I don't have time to try to figure out what's on your mind and go through all these different gyrations and like trying to convince you to do something. I'm never trying to convince somebody that they should do something with me. If they can't figure out that they need to do it with me and I'm the one that can help them get to the promised land, whatever that is for them, then that's okay. I'm just not your guy. And I'd much rather do that than to waste time. See, a lot of y'all waste time dealing with prospects that's never going to buy something from you. But because they give you the idea that they will, you willing to just keep running on that hamster wheel. I'm not doing that. I'm off I'm not even getting on the wheel to begin with. And so your life would be so much more peaceful. Your life would be so much more fruitful because that time you waste following up and following up again and jumping through all these hoops just for them to say, yeah, we talked about it and we're just going to hold off at this time. That's all you waiting on. You're just leaning into their indecisiveness. For me, I got to tell me yes, tell me no, tell me something, I got to go. Like whatever you're going to tell me now so we can move on. But it's just important when somebody asks you, can you send them everything for review? Can you send me your purchase agreement? Can you send me, after y'all have just had a one-on-one sales call? 99% of the time, they are not going to close. Why? Because there's nothing that black and white sheet of paper can explain to them better than whatever I can explain to them. Does that make sense? Because the sheet is information. My conversation is conversion. Because I'm able to field and speak to all the questions and objections and all the rest of it that you may have. That sheet can't do that. There's no way possible that you're going to take this sheet of paper and go home and explain it to your spouse and y'all going to talk about it and you're going to come out with a better outcome than what you would have had you been on the call with me. So why am I telling you this? Stop wasting your time sending it. Hey, would you mind sending me over X, Y? 99% of the time, they're not going to close. The better thing that you need to do, and I'm not about to get deep into sales training, but the better thing that you need to do would be to say, sure, we could look at it together right now if you like. I could share my screen. Yeah, so what questions do you have? Because these bullet points can nowhere near explain to you what I can in paragraphs as I articulate it. Does that make sense? Listen, I want y'all to make more money this year and have more peace and more joy in doing it. So number one, stop wasting your time trying to get them to buy. Number two, only sell them the thing that they desire. And number three, don't try to convince them as to why they should buy from you. At the core of everything that I just said, although it seemed as if I was shaping this more towards the salesperson, if you pay very close attention, what I'm really trying to highlight here is just serve people. Serve them at the highest level. Serve them exactly what they want. And serve yourself at the highest level by only doing that. Because anything outside of that is going to turn into a problem. And if you make a habit of that, your whole business is going to be a problem. Till next time.